Hi, I'm Ford. I grew up watching my dad run his small auto parts shop, dreaming of building something of my own. By 32, I'd turned that dream into Apex Innovations, a $4 million custom manufacturing business I built from nothing. Ford, these quarterly numbers are amazing. My assistant Mia rushed into my office, tablet in hand. We're up 17%, I grinned. Did you show these to Dad yet? Maybe now he'll finally admit I know what I'm doing. He called earlier. Wants you at his place for dinner tonight. Said it's important. Family only. Probably wants to lecture me about not having kids yet. I sighed. How's my sister doing? Still posting those perfect family photos from her corner office that Dad paid for? Diane posted about Junior's baseball game. 3 kids under 10 and she still looks perfect in every photo. Dad's been bankrolling her entire life while telling me to build character through struggle. I checked my watch. Reschedule the Westfield meeting. Apparently, I have a family dinner to attend. There he is, the workaholic himself. My father's booming voice greeted me as I entered my childhood home. Dad, I nodded, accepting his firm handshake rather than the hug he never offered. Uncle Forty, my nephew barreled into my legs. Did you bring me anything cool from your factory? Junior, give your uncle space, Diane called from the dining room. Her husband Tom offered me an apologetic smile. It's fine. And yes, buddy, I've got something for you in the car. I made my way to the kitchen where my father was opening wine. Son, we need to talk business tonight. He poured me a glass without asking. My business is doing just fine, Dad. In fact, it's about legacy, Ford. He cut me off. You've done well with Apex, I'll give you that. But what's it all for if there's no next generation? I felt my jaw tighten. I built that company from nothing. The what for is that I created something valuable that's mine. Dinner proceeded with the usual routine, Diane's children commanding attention while my father beamed with pride at his grandchildren. After dessert, my father cleared his throat. I've made an important decision. Since I provided your initial seed funding for Apex, a $10,000 loan I paid back within a year, I clarified. Nevertheless, I've decided that controlling interest should be transferred to Diane. The room went silent. You what? I managed. Ford, be reasonable, Diane leaned forward. You've got no family. I've got 3 kids who need security. Dad's thinking about the family legacy. Family legacy? That company is my legacy. I built it. And you'll still have a role, my father continued calmly. But Diane has proven she can balance family and business. The company needs stability, a future beyond just you. This is insane. I stood up. You can't just take my company because she had kids and I didn't. Actually, as majority shareholder, I can, my father replied coolly. The paperwork has already been filed. Ford, don't be dramatic, Diane sighed. It's still family. It's what's best for everyone. Ricardo called me yesterday, Tom suddenly spoke up. He mentioned you'd been kept out of meetings lately. I thought you knew something was happening. I stared at him, the betrayal sinking in. Ricardo was my head of operations and apparently had known about this before I did. How long have you all been planning this behind my back? I asked. No one would meet my eyes. He can't legally do this, right? Mia paced around my office the next morning. You own 70%? Apparently I don't. I rubbed my temples. Dad structured the investment in a way that gave him controlling interest. I trusted him, didn't read the fine print. What now? We just hand everything to your sister who hasn't worked a day here? I need to understand exactly what's happening first. I picked up my phone, set up a meeting with Ricardo, and called Benjamin from legal. 2 hours later, Ricardo fidgeted in the chair across from my desk, unable to meet my gaze. Benjamin, my company's legal counsel, sat silently reviewing documents. How long have you known? I asked Ricardo. Your father approached me 3 months ago, he admitted. He said it was a family decision that had already been made, that you were on board. And you believed I would hand over my company without saying a word to you, my head of operations for 6 years? Ford, Charles made it clear this was happening with or without my cooperation. I have a family to think about. So does everyone, apparently, except me. I turned to Benjamin. What are my options? Benjamin adjusted his glasses. The shareholder agreement gives your father considerable power. However, there are provisions regarding patents and intellectual property that might provide leverage. What kind of leverage? You personally hold patents on several key manufacturing processes. Those weren't part of the company formation. A knock interrupted us. Mia stuck her head in. Diane is here, with your father. Perfect timing, I muttered. Send them in. Diane strode in, designer handbag swinging, our father following behind with a confident air. "Ford, we need to discuss the transition plan," Diane announced. "I've been reviewing the books, and there are inefficiencies I want to address immediately." "Reviewing the books?" I repeated. "Since when do you have access to our financial records?" "Since Dad made me majority owner," she replied dismissively. "Ricardo has been very helpful bringing me up to speed." "This is ridiculous. You know nothing about manufacturing or our client relationships." "I have an MBA, Ford," Diane retorted. "And unlike you, I understand the importance of family legacy." "Is that what this is about?" I turned to my father. "Punishing me for not having kids?" "This is about securing the future," my father insisted. "Diane has heirs. You chose career over family." "I built this company while Diane was busy spending your money." My voice rose. "How is that choosing career over family?" "That's unfair," Diane started. "This has nothing to do with your children," I interrupted. "This is about Dad never thinking I was good enough, and you being happy to benefit." "The decision is made," my father said sternly. "We're here to discuss transition, not debate." I looked between them, then at Benjamin, who gave me a subtle nod. "Actually," I said slowly, "we need to discuss the patents that I personally hold and the non-compete clauses that affect every senior employee in this room." My father's confident expression faltered. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that if you want Apex, you can have the shell, but I'm not handing over everything I've built without a fight." "You would sabotage your own sister's future?" my father demanded. "That's rich coming from the man who just sabotaged his son's life work," I replied, standing. "This meeting is over. My lawyer will be in touch." As they left, Mia slipped back in. "What now, boss?" Now we call Jason Chen." "Your old college roommate? The venture capitalist?" "The very same. Tell him I'm ready to discuss that offer he's been floating." "You want to walk away?" Jason asked, eyebrows raised. We sat in his downtown office, 27 floors above the city where I'd built my first business. "Not exactly. I want to start over, but better, and take every advantage with me." "Including the patents," Jason nodded. "Your father won't take that lying down." "My father already made his move. Now it's my turn." "What about your team?" 15 of them are ready to leave with me, including my top engineers and sales staff." Jason whistled. "Your sister will inherit an empty shell. She gets the Apex name, the building and equipment. I get the people who actually make it work. And the client relationships," Jason added. "Have you thought about what comes after? Revenge feels good in the moment, but..." "This isn't just about revenge," I interrupted. "It's about building something they can't take from me." "Fair enough. $5 million to start, with potential for another 10 based on milestones." He extended his hand. "Welcome to the next chapter." The confrontation came sooner than expected. 3 days later, my father appeared at my condo, pounding on the door. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he demanded, pushing past me. "Diane says half the senior staff submitted resignations this morning." "Sounds like Diane has a management problem," I replied calmly. "Not my concern anymore." "This is sabotage," he fumed. "You're trying to destroy the company out of spite." "I'm exercising my right to start a new venture. The staff are making their own choices." "After you poisoned them against your sister." "I didn't have to poison anyone," I shot back. "They've worked with me for years. They know what I've built, and they know Diane has never set foot on the production floor." "You ungrateful." My father stepped toward me. "I gave you your start. I introduced you to your first clients. And then you took it all away because I didn't live my life on your terms." I raised my voice. "What did you expect me to do, just hand over everything I've worked for?" "I expected you to put family first, to recognize that Diane has always been your priority," I finished. "That's nothing new, but this time, you went too far." A knock interrupted our argument. I opened to find Mia and Benjamin waiting. "Perfect timing," I said, gesturing them inside. "Dad, you remember my lawyer?" "What is this?" my father demanded. "This is me giving you one last chance to rethink your decision," I said, nodding to Benjamin, who placed a document on my coffee table. "We've drawn up an alternative arrangement," Benjamin explained. "Mr. Richardson returns controlling interest in Apex to Ford, and Ford will establish a trust for his niece and nephews. Education." My father barely glanced at the papers. "This isn't happening. The transfer is done." "Then you leave me no choice," I said quietly. "Benjamin, we're proceeding with Plan B." "What does that mean?" My father's face reddened. "It means as of tomorrow, I'm launching Richardson Advanced Manufacturing with Jason Chen's investment, taking my patents, key staff, and most client relationships with me. You can't do that. The non-compete doesn't apply when there's a change in controlling ownership, Benjamin interjected. Standard clause, section 12B of the very agreement you used. You'll regret this, my father threatened. This family made you who you are. No, I replied evenly. I made me who I am, and I'll do it again without you. As he stormed toward the door, he turned back. Diane will fight this. We'll sue you for everything. You're welcome to try, I said. But I've learned my lesson about family business. This time I own everything outright. 3 years passed in a blur of 18-hour workdays and relentless growth. Richardson Advanced Manufacturing, RAM for short, had exploded from a startup to a $30 million enterprise with facilities in 3 states. The Thompson contract is signed, Mia announced. That puts us at 41% year-over-year growth. And Apex? I couldn't help asking. Filed for Chapter 11 last month, she replied. Your father has been trying to find buyers, but... She trailed off. My intercom buzzed. Your sister is here. No appointment. I hesitated before pressing the button. Send her in. Diane looked different, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. The past 3 years had clearly been hard on her. Ford. She nodded stiffly. Diane. I gestured to the chair across from me. What brings you to RAM? She sat, hands fidgeting. I think you know why I'm here. I'm afraid I don't. I kept my voice neutral. Last I heard, you were telling the Cleveland Tribune that I was a vindictive saboteur who destroyed a family legacy. She looked embarrassed. Dad made me do that interview. He was convinced we could shame you into helping. And now? Now Apex is weeks away from liquidation. Dad's had 2 heart attacks and I've got 3 kids and a mountain of debt. She finally met my eyes. I need your help. My help, I repeated slowly. After you took my company? After you accused me of sabotage when your mismanagement ran it into the ground? I know it's asking a lot. It's asking the impossible, I cut her off. What did you think would happen when you came here? I thought, she swallowed, I thought maybe you'd buy what's left of Apex. Dad's willing to sell for whatever you think is fair. I laughed. Now he's willing to be fair 3 years too late? Ford, please. If not for me, then for the kids. They don't deserve... Don't. I held up a hand. Don't use your children as bargaining chips, not again. She fell silent, tears welling. I'll tell you what I'm willing to do, I said after a pause. I'll have HR contact Apex's remaining employees. Any who qualify can interview for positions here, and I'll honor the education trust for your children that I originally proposed. But not Apex itself? She asked quietly. The company isn't worth saving, I replied honestly, and I won't go into business with Dad again. Ever. He's sorry, she said. He won't say it, but he is. He knows he made a mistake. His mistake was thinking he had the right to take what I built, I said, standing. My mistake was letting him. Diane rose slowly. What about us? We're still family. Are we? When's the last time you called me except to ask for something? She had no answer. After she left, Mia came back in. Everything okay? Schedule a meeting with HR about the Apex employees, I told her, and call my lawyer about that education trust. What about your dad and sister? I turned to look at the manufacturing floor below, where hundreds of employees worked on products that were exclusively mine. They made their choice, I said, and I made mine. That evening, my phone buzzed with a text from my father. I was wrong, I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long moment before putting my phone away without responding. Some bridges, once burned, aren't meant to be rebuilt. As I looked around at the empire I'd created, bigger and more successful than Apex had ever been, I realized the best revenge wasn't just proving them wrong. It was creating something so magnificent they couldn't help but acknowledge what they'd thrown away. Would you have done the same in my position, or would you have found it in your heart to forgive? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of triumph over adversity.